team, the women, at the African Netball Championships in neighboring Botswana. So after yesterday's nail-biting win over Zambia, the Gems now need to thrash Eswatini by at least 20 goals to reach the final of the competition. So don't forget, they lost their opening game of the tournament to Namibia. Since then, the Gems have reeled off 3 straight wins. A narrow victory today, though, will not be enough for Zimbabwe. And I can tell you it is not looking good at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, looking at my screen, I have Zimbabwe leading Eswatini by 43 points to 41. It's about 11 and a half, or rather, just updating, with about 7.5 minutes left in the final quarter. It's Zimbabwe 48, Eswatini 44. So yeah, it's looking highly unlikely that Zimbabwe is going to get 16 more goals than Eswatini in the last 7.5 minutes there. That means they will be missing out on the final of this Africa Netball Championships. Very briefly, Mr. V, is that a bit of a disappointment considering South Africa is not there? Zimbabwe, we were expecting to get to the final, and is this a huge disappointment?
Yeah, of course it is. We were expected to get there. A bit like the cricket, shouldn't be playing below par against smaller teams. We should have beaten Zambia by a bigger margin than that, and we shouldn't have lost to Namibia either in that opening game. And well, you would think against Eswatini we should have even been able to get a big victory, but a 20-goal margin, that was a big ask.
Indeed, it was a big ask. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, another Zimbabwe national team falling short. The Gems leading Eswatini by 49 points to 44 now. 6.5 minutes left to go in that match, but they are not going to get that 20-goal margin victory. The men's national team, though, they are through to the final despite losing 46 to 34 to South Africa yesterday. The Golden Gems now will play either South Africa or Botswana on Wednesday in the first ever men's final at the Netball Cup. Those two nations play each other at 7 p.m. The winner will go through to the final to play Zimbabwe.
This is the Daily Sports Zone. Star FM, your first choice for sport.
Yes, indeed, it is the Daily Sports Zone right here on Star FM. Again, welcome to our listeners on our sister station, Capital 100.4 FM. Harare's Heartbeat. We're talking football now. Highlanders FC today officially announced the departure of head coach Baltimore Brito and his assistant Antonio Torres when their contracts expire on the 31st of January. So in a statement released on their social media pages, Boso say that they have mutually agreed with the pair not to extend their contracts into 2024, thereby allowing Brito and Torres to now fully focus on their roles in the national team setup. So Brito led Highlanders to a 5th place finish in the just-ended PSL season, 11 points behind champions Gezi Platinum Stars. However, there was huge disappointment among the club's fan base after the Bulawayo Giants once held a 7-point lead at the top of the table, having conceded just 4 goals in their first 19 matches before the wheels then fell off their title challenge. Their top-flight title drought will now move into an 18th year, and they will have to find a new head coach to try and end it. Brito will continue to lead the Warriors as head coach until at least June of 2024, while Torres is the national team fitness and conditioning coach. David, I want to bring you in on this one now. No real surprise, because we've been hearing about these rumors for about a week now that Boso were looking to move on from Brito. Your overall assessment of his stay at Barberfields, considering how he started this season in particular? There was a lot of talk that Boso on the verge of ending that title drought. In the end, disappointment. Overall, Brito, do you think he just used the Boso job to weasel his way into the national team job there? Or your view on Brito's stay at Barberfields in the end?
I think he's a good coach, yeah, for me. And if you look at the way Highlanders performed, especially in the 19 games that they went unbeaten this season. Of course, there were too many draws, but they could have even turned them, into wins, because at Barberfields you can't go there and come out with maximum points. At least a draw will be good enough for you. But for Brito, I think it was more to do with the personnel that he had in his disposal, and the personnel, I think, also let him down. And remember, the team that went 19 games, Rukudzo, you can't go for 7 consecutive draws, and without even getting anything. And their top scorer this season, it's a disgrace, Kuti. A big club like Highlanders, serious, can go on, and you have someone who has got almost like 4 goals to be their top scorer, which is not good enough for a team like Highlanders. In the whole season, they scored less than 30 goals, Rukudzo, that they scored. And look at their strikers, combined goals, avaskusvika 10. And even himself, Brito, as a coach, I know Zanguti vanga vasina belief naye after those 19 consecutive, games that he didn't lose. After that, he lost almost like 4 or 5 games on the trot, and they never supported him after that. And I think that's another issue as well. Yakaita Kuti, even here, Brito, when he was appointed the national team coach, he was concentrating more, with the national team job. Maybe he was looking for that when he came to Zimbabwe, so that he can stay maybe 1 or 2 years, then he can join our national team. But for me, I think he brought on a bit of stability at Highlanders, but the type of play that he brought to Highlanders, I think the fans didn't like it. They didn't like it at all.
Mr. V, when it comes to Brito, yes, Dee was talking about it there in terms of the style of play. Do you think that is what in the end hurt them with their title challenge? Was he just the wrong man for Highlanders? Was it a situation of their good luck eventually caught up to them, leading to them falling off in the title race like this? Just give us your thoughts on Brito's stay at Barberfield.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get the results, even if it's unattractive football, then you'll be happy as a fan to some extent, but it's not really what Highlander stands for playing defensive football. Very easy to link Highlanders' decline this season with him getting the Warriors job, because they just dropped off completely there. And it's a bit of a shame for the club, because it means they have to rebuild again. It happened with Peter de Jong, the Dutchman who joined about 5 years ago. He's now coaching Silver Stars in Malawi. So we do get some coaches, foreign coaches, who've got ambitions elsewhere and use it as a stepping stone to get there. So yeah, while the results were coming, it was fun for Highlanders, but probably they would look at a coach now who's going to play more exciting football for them next season. But if you're looking at a title next season, probably that might be a big ask, because it's going to be a rebuilding season yet again for Bosso.
Rodwan Alex Park here is not mourning the departure of Brito. He's saying he should go. Another one here saying Highlanders administration should have given Brito Obrio Chirinda and they would have won the league. Don the Great. Another one here saying Brito was sabotaged by his assistants and other senior players. Can you try and elaborate for us exactly what you mean by that one? And then still on the issue of Brito, okay, I think yes, he said they will never find another coach like Brito. It was not his fault that Highlanders failed to buy a striker. Tapiwa Nyani from Mbari. You say Brito is a good coach. Well, it's not the end of Brito, of course. When it comes to Zimbabwean football, he's still the Warriors head coach, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him, and of course that will determine whether he really is a good coach, just how well he does with our beloved national team. All right, let's talk about Highlanders' arch rivals, Dynamos. They are the most successful club in Zimbabwean football history, but they had gone 9 years without a major trophy. I say had because their drought is finally over.
Into the box, Sadik is blocked, it's Elton Chikana, and they've taken the lead! Elton Chikana! Glances the ball forward, almost comes back to Emmanuel Paga to wrap it up, Paga! Game, set and match, and Chibuku Super Cup 2, Dynamos, the Glamour Boys, Ngezi 0, the Dynamos 2.
Indeed, of course, the very familiar voice of Steve Vickers on comms. Yesterday it was live right here on Star FM, your first choice for sport. We're coming to you from Baobab Stadium with the Chibuku Super Cup final. And as you heard there, Dynamos won their first major trophy in 9 years, beating Ngezi Platinum Stars, the new league champions, 2-0 at Baobab Stadium in the Chibuku Super Cup final. Teenager Elton Chikona and Ghanaian Emmanuel Paga both netted in the second half to earn Dimbare their first Chibuku Super Cup and their first trophy trophy since their last league crown back in 2014 under Kalisto Pasua. So Chikona, who was named the PSL's most promising young player at the Soccer Star of the Year ceremony just 2 days before, spoke on his goal and his breakthrough season.
Andonzwa kufara sezori first year rangu ndengushuro ndindotezo team yangu cup asa zvanguita ndagwesa final ndandagara ndishuwira ya ndongotenda Mwari iri bhora iri tongoti rakaoma because ndo mabhora anotadzikewo ari easy ndo anotadzika but andakwanisa kufema ndaita take two ndazopedzisa ndoti gore iri igore randifadza because raitika zvinhu zvakawanda mulife mangu rachinja zvinhu zvakawanda bo ndatambotarisira kuti ndichatamba gore rino rebhora paDynamos ndaingofungira kuti ndiri mujunior majunior anongoziyawo but ndakakwanisa kupiwa mukana ndakana manchigoisawo saka ndongotenda Mwari ndikwanisa kutenda maparents angu nekundishingisa bo pane zvimwe zvaitomborema ndichidzoka padheni ndichingogara ndongosvika ndobva ndarara but havainditi aiwa ramba uchipucha ramba uchishanda saka ndoda kuatenda nemakocha angu nekundipucha nekunditemba nekunditangisawo ndakambozvifungira kuti ndichatamba bhora semujunior paDynamos saka ndongotendawo nemasupporters ese vanenge vachinditsigira vanoramba vachindipusha ada kusvika kueurope da kutengawo kuengland ando dream yangu saka ndicharamba ndichingoshanda ndichipusha.
All right, Mr. V, I was following events as well at Bilbab Stadium there, particularly in the second half. I think Dynamos certainly deserved it. They had more of the, shall we say, dangerous opportunities in the Ngezi box. I think they were even denied a penalty. If you ask me, Jalai, I think it was definitely fouled by Kashtigu in the box there before they eventually took the lead. For you, do you think Dynamos as well fully deserved that? Chikona on hand to tap in on the rebound, and then of course, shall we say, it was Paga with the chances goal. Really, he just made sure that he was there to take advantage of the confusion in the Ngezi defense.
Yeah, they really did deserve it. It was kind of a day where everybody won because Ngezi were already the champions, so Dynamos got their own trophy, Kadiamini already the Soccer Star of the Year, and Chikona the most promising young player. That penalty shout, very debatable. It was a big call for the ref to make. I must say, having assessed TV replays now from ZTN, probably that should have been a penalty. So, yeah, Dynamos are very much deserved winners. They were the better team in midfield with Tanaka Shandira and Donald Madadi playing really well. And just a great day out, you know. This, I think, going to the Baobab Stadium, if you're coming from Harare or from Kadoma, it's one of the best sports tourism experiences in the country because it's just a 2-hour drive, a lovely road from the roundabout to Selu, and you go past the mine and all of these spectacular huge mining equipment, conveyor belts and towers and concentrators and stuff, so you get to see that glimpse of what the mining world is like as well. And it's a nice venue. It was full, 50-50 in terms of fans, because the Dynamos fans were on our right side and the Ngezi fans are on the left, and it was a really good atmosphere. So all round, for the neutrals, a super day out, a great day out for the Dynamos fans, finally winning the trophy. For the Ngezi supporters, well, they were the champions anyway already.
David, I want to talk about Elton Chikona there. We heard him there in his interview speaking to Ash Tikiwa after the victory. You heard him talk about him being surprised that he managed to get into the Dynamo setup so quickly at such a young age, and his hopes to eventually play in the English Premier League and all of that. Just talk to me about his performance yesterday leading the line for Dynamos.
Yeah, he had a very good second half, considering that first half Dynamos were, playing too many crosses which were high, to the advantage of Ngezi. Centre backs Kudachi Guida and Polite Moyo. But then second half, at least they managed to change their self-play. Even if you look at the way they scored their goals, I think it was more to do with penetration, low crosses as well. So for Chikona, I think, he's a predatory. And he reminds me of Norman Maroto when I was playing with Norman. He was so fast, especially in terms of going to the near post, getting those, loose crosses that comes in front of the defenders. So for the youngster, I think he has to keep his feet down, keep on learning, and he'll be the next Norman Maroto of Dynamos at the moment.
Well, that's a very big shout there. Let's just wait and see if he manages to live up to that, coming from David Sengu. And the high sports team Boso should have supported Brito and bought him a few more players and to give him time as well. Orgain Masasa are not happy with Boso letting Brito go. Lamokashao and Kwazinawan, a regular listener, saying congratulations to Timbari for clinching the Chibuku Super Cup. The task ahead next season is to be a success in the Continental Football Showcase. Brito with Boso brought in tiki-taka football display. Did he? David, did he bring in tiki-taka football?
Yeah, he did. If you look at Highlanders, they were starting play from the back, to be honest. But you know what? It was the strikers that were blunt.
Yes.
Rukudzo.
Tiki-taka came with 4 or 5 goals. That's what I remember from those Barcelona days. Anyway.
but Rukudzo, it's not Brito's fault, to be honest. And he asked for a striker, and they didn't get him a striker. So do you have to cry? Can I must not take a striker? No, because I don't know they were blunt. Imagine someone who was their top scorer last season with 10. This year only 2.
Congratulations Dimbare nekutora chibuku nyika yese iri kufara kudzichaurura pamabvuku apo hanzi hail the champions Dimbare. I'm Davis Ndiraya in Stone Ridge Mapranga. You just got very happy, of course. You're a regular Dimbare regular listener and a big Dimbare fan as Dimbare woya nyika yese iri kufara. That's a huge refrain on our show today. And on the issue of the gems, at least the gems tried ndizo zema national teams edu izvozo machevrons mawarriors tato jaira isu so near yet so far. TK the plumber, and yes, I can confirm the Gems have won their match. I'm trying to get the exact score for you now. The match has ended, but it was certainly not by 20 goals. We will not be playing in the final of the women's side of the Africa Netball Championship.
This is football. Football!
I think we have a winner.
Loser. The news is our life. Did you hear what the weatherman said?
Ready for it's the complete radio sports show. The Daily Sports Zone is on right now.
Indeed, it is the Daily Sports Zone on Star FM, your first choice for sport. Also coming to you live on our sister station, Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. Yes, indeed, welcome in to the Daily Sports Zone. Some quick sporting hits for you now. In cricket, the Eagles are the Pro 50 Championship winners. They beat Rhinos by 5 wickets in the final at Takashinga Cricket Club in Harare. Rhinos posted 246 for 9. Brandon Mavuta top scoring with 69 runs. Amir Hamza took 4 for 46 for Eagles. They then easily reached the target with over 5 overs to spare. Tinashe Kamunukamwe scored 63. Nick Welch added 58 for the victorious Eagles. In hockey, the Women's Junior Hockey World Cup continues in Chile. The Zimbabwe under-21 ladies will play Chile in their first placement match for nations that failed to reach the quarterfinals. That match begins at 1:30 early tomorrow morning. It has been a very tough trip to South America for the young ladies. They lost all 3 of their pool games to South Korea, Spain and Argentina. The final defeat to Argentina earlier this morning by scarcely believable 14-0. This was, of course, very much expected, given Zimbabwe is the lowest ranked nation at the tournament. So earlier, of course, that means tonight they'll be trying to finish in as high a position as possible and avoid the wooden spoon of 16th position when all is said and done. Let's read some more of your messages before we go international. I know a lot of you want to talk about the classic matches we saw last night in the English Premier League. And the high sports team Siana nayo Dimbare and Toiroera Mturfi Momo Nyika Yese Kufara. Happy with how Dimbare approached the game. Chris in Masasa. Before we go international, Mr. V, I actually bring you in on this. I just thought about it now. Dimbare in the Confederation Cup, Ngezi in the Champions League, the CAF Champions League. Which of those two is more likely to go far in their respective competitions? I know you keep an eye on African football, considering the quality these two teams have. And yes, maybe you can make an allowance for transfers that are going to come in. We don't know exactly what the teams will look like when the competitions begin in August. But just as things stand, which team is more likely to go far in their respective competition?
Yeah, I would suspect Dynamos. The CAF Champions League is really tough, so there'll be 2 qualifying rounds to get to the group stage. First round, you'll get somebody from the region. If you're lucky, it'll be somebody from Seychelles. If you're unlucky, somebody from Angola, maybe from Congo, Brazzaville. We've had FC Platinum playing them. But then if you win that, you're going to have to play a big team like maybe Esperance of Tunisia, maybe even Al Ahly of Egypt if you're very unlucky, or maybe you get someone a bit beatable. But it's very hard to get into the group stage of the CAF Champions League. FC Platinum did do it. Confederation Cup, yeah, it's also a really high standard, but a bit easier. And if Dynamos are well resourced, I'd be optimistic for them.
Simbarashe Chikwati in Chitungwiza Zanzi. Hi, Rukudzo, David, Steve. I would like to say congratulations to Dynamos for winning yesterday. They were tactically disciplined and superior to Ngezi. Farewell to Brito. He played well, but it was not to be for Highlanders this year. Another one here, Nzi. Congratulations to Dimbare for lifting the cup on Sunday. Nyamu Pepema, Nyamu Tewa, Robert, a Sable Range in Marondera. Anzi Siana Nayo, Dimbare. It was a good week for both my teams, Dimbare and Arsenal. Baba Adele, Anzi High Sports Team. I'm happy for Dimbare and Chelsea. Wakaisa Smile Pachiso Changu, Team Chikanda, Pa Tiriwanu in Rua there. Anzi hats off to Dimbare alongside Genesis Mangombe, James Mupindiko in Torashanga. Thank you for that one. As a sports team, if Dynamos manage to keep all of the current squad, they will be league champions next year. Bonfest Chipadze, Pazaranyika Murewa there. Anzi, I have a question. It seems Mudadi plays well in the league, then his colleague Shandirwa does well. So how does Shandirwa get a Warriors core and not Mudadi? I think you mean to say Mudadi plays well in the league better than his colleague Shandirwa. So how does Shandirwa get a Warriors core and not Mudadi? David, maybe you can take that one.
But they are both central midfielders with different attributes of being central midfielders. So obviously the coach chooses the one suited the system that he plays.
All right then.
This is World Sport on the Daily Sports Zone.
All right. In the English Premier League this weekend, we witnessed 38 goals in 10 matches. Liverpool, Manchester City and Spurs all involved in certified classic matches yesterday.
Football's in Sengu, Jesus combining. Odegaard! Wonderful goal! Wonderful goal from Arsenal. It's 2-0.
And arriving is Tsimikas. Now Alexander-Arnold. And he scored! Would you believe it? It's Liverpool again who can just find saviour.
Haaland's on top of him. Rodri's on top of him. And now Haaland and Grealish. And City have probably won it. Brennan Johnson in towards Richarlison. Kulusevski! Oh, he's there! What a header! 90th minute!
Indeed, it was very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. I know if you were watching that game, you felt it too. Champions Manchester City's lack of ruthlessness once again punished, this time by a spirited and brave Tottenham Hotspur side in a pulsating 3-3 draw at the Etihad Stadium. As usual, the referee took centre stage late on when he pulled City back for a foul on Erling Haaland after initially playing advantage, allowing Jack Grealish to run through on goal. City were furious, but Spurs, I think, were good value for the point after weathering the champions' first half onslaught. Let's start with that controversial moment, David. You were a player. I know you absolutely love when referees give advantage. How did you react to that? For me, personally, I think City were robbed. And everyone knows I cannot stand Manchester City, but I have to defend them here. I thought they were robbed because when you see the replays, it's very clear that Hooper played advantage. As soon as he saw that Jack Grealish was onside and through, and he blew the whistle. What was that?
I was even surprised because I was watching the game, and you know what? I thought maybe Haaland was super in that situation. Why? Because he was fouled. The next thing is he got up very fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't wait for the center ref to blow the whistle. But I was surprised. The referee who have to play on. The next thing is when he saw Grealish going, you know, everyone stopped. Even Grealish stopped, and he heard the whistle, and everyone was livid. Especially Man City, they were livid. And for me, I don't know. Maybe tingati marefuri ane decision yaanoita maybe aona kuti apa akanya, but anenge asina kukanya because they were still in control of the ball. If the Tottenham defenders were on the ball, maybe that's when he was going to blow the whistle. But that time it was Jack Grealish, and he was looking at the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper was way inside, and I thought maybe he was just going to lob it over. But if you look at him, Grealish controlling the ball, turning back and looking at the referee, he was even surprised. Kutaona referee the whistle, and Tottenham defenders were so happy, and everyone was happy. Even the goalkeeper was happy because they knew they were going to lose that game by 4-3.
Hansi Hooper was the wrong ref for that match. He was clearly overwhelmed by the occasion. He should have been subbed in by. You should have been subbed for Anthony Taylor, the fourth referee, who is more used to such high stakes matches. Mr. V, you can talk about that one as well. And I also want you to talk to me about Tottenham Hotspur's tactics there. A lot of people have been criticizing Ange Postecoglou for what they call naivety in terms of his tactics there. Such high lines, a short passing game. Trying to, shall we say, constantly be on the attack, moving through teams, beating presses and all of that. But they went to the Etihad Stadium. They went toe-to-toe with the champions. Yes, they were lucky that Erling Haaland was missing chances, but they managed to walk away with a point. So do Ange Postecoglou's tactics, or shall I say the results yesterday, do they justify Ange Postecoglou's tactics?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to admire him and the football that he's playing, because they'll just keep on trying to score, and you wouldn't really have given them much of a chance of coming back against Man City. Remember, James Maddison is still out injured. Son is just amazing, and when he gets his chances, he's very lethal with converting them. So you've got to admire that kind of football. Probably it will cost them some points along the way, because that's the only way that they seem to be playing under Postecoglou, but they got themselves a much deserved point against City. Although, yeah, that really was robbery, that decision by Simon Hooper to not play the advantage for Jack Grealish there.
And David, I also want to talk about City's wastefulness over the course of the season. We saw what happened last year. I always talk about it. They looked like they were human. It looked like they were going to fall away from the title race. And then February, they just started winning and never stopped winning, right up to the Champions League and all of that. This wastefulness now, do you think Liverpool and Arsenal in particular are really licking their lips and saying that there's a chance now that City are not going to win this fourth straight title?
For me, I think it's still too early to rule City out. And if you look at Man City games, yeah, Chelsea there, of course, they drew 4-4. Then Tottenham again, they drew 3-3. I think it's the defense that Pep really need to look at, because they've been leaking goals of late, and it has never happened to City for the past seasons. It was more to do with them scoring more goals, maybe concede maybe 1 or 2 on a win 4-2, 5-2, something like that. But of late, imagine if they can concede 4 against Chelsea, 3 against Tottenham, and in 2 games, then you have to look at City as a whole. And Pep, I think in yesterday's press conference, I think he said, Kuti, the boys now, they have to look at themselves and analyze this season, how they are playing. Imagine after winning treble last year, and how they are playing this season, and everyone wants City's head, so they have to up their game, good attitude, everything has to be spot on. And for me, I think any other team that can challenge City, it's only Arsenal and Liverpool at the moment.
Of course, we can continue this debate tonight on the Monday Night Sports Extra. Don't forget, it starts at the earlier time of 9:15 this evening. We have David Sengu as well as Steve Vickers here to take your calls, your texts, and your voice notes. Hear what you think about this weekend's sporting action. In particular, of course, you can talk about the Chibuku Super Cup final. You can talk about this Manchester City Spurs game. Before we move away from that, Mr. V, let's talk about Liverpool as well. They overturned a 3-2 deficit with 4 minutes to play to eventually edge Fulham 4-3 in a humdinger at Anfield. But if you ask me, I think they were severely missing Alisson in their goal there, because Kevin Keller there, 2 of those goals I think you should have been able to keep out there. Is a sustained absence by Alisson something that's going to hurt Liverpool going forward? Because I do think they're back in title contention form, like what they were doing at the very height of the Klopp's days there. But the goalkeeper situation, surely that will hurt them.
Yeah, and it could be maybe 4 or 5 games, I think, until Alisson comes back. Yeah, that was not an impressive one from Kelleher. Got a good defence in front of him. Maybe he'll pick up next time. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is in imperious form at the moment, and that comeback was quite something for Liverpool. I agree with David. I think that they are probably the big contenders along with Arsenal if Man City keep playing like this.
Yeah, I think the fighting spirit which was there in the team, these are the games that you will always remember. Rukudzo, when you retire as a footballer, even as a coach, you retire, imagine down 3-2, you equalize, then you get the winner inside a minute, and in front of the Kop, exactly what Klopp really wants from his players. Don't give up. Always, when you play at Anfield, it means a lot to the fans, and it means a lot, especially to the new players. Imagine that McAllister screamer, and as well coming in as a second half substitute, scoring that wonderful goal. It brings confidence, especially to those guys that haven't scored at Anfield. And because I think it was a fantastic game. Thumbs up to Fulham. They pushed Liverpool to the limit, and they did exactly what Silva wanted to do. And Fulham, they played a very good game yesterday. And for Liverpool, I think it's more to do with Alisson. If Alisson was there, I don't think they could have conceded, especially last 2 goals. I don't think so. And for Darwin Núñez, I think he's just an unlucky striker. Imagine some of the balls that he hit the crossbar, hit the upright. So sometimes you need luck as a striker. Imagine some of the goals that Erling Haaland scores, some of the goals that Luis Suarez used to score at Liverpool. You could see.
Very last topic for tonight. Very briefly, Mr. V, I want to bring you in on my beloved Manchester United. They were battered by a goal to nil.
Battered 1-0?
Yes, battered 1-0. That was an absolute thrashing by a goal to nil. The club is in trouble, Mr. V. Surely this is the death knell, shall we say, is about to go off for Erik ten Hag once again.
5 wins in 7 in the league.
Those are against bottom half teams, Mr. V. Manchester United should be challenging at the top of the table. Okay, unfortunately, we can continue with that debate on the Monday Night Sports Extra. As I said, Steve Vickers, David Sengu will be with you from 9:15 this evening right here on Star FM, your first choice for sport. Big thanks as well to Capital 100.4 FM for tuning in right here on Star FM. This is the end of the Daily Sports Zone. We'll be back again tomorrow evening, 6:05 down to 6:30, leaving you in the hands of Linda Muriro. It is Muriro on Monday.
You've been listening to the